Hi! Welcome to a new series that I'm going to do on my channel where I'm going to talk about and break down each season of Degrassi, excluding the Kids of Degrassi Street, because I never really got into it, but after listening to the Degrassi Kid podcast, maybe I will, but for continuity purposes, we're going to start with Degrassi Junior High and move our way to Degrassi Next Class. So I just finished season 1 of Degrassi Junior High, and we're going to do each season. So I might mention, I might talk about, in this video, I might talk about the whole series of Degrassi Junior High. But then next episode will be a little shorter and just be talking about season 2. But then when I get to Degrassi High, the first video I do of Degrassi High will be a little longer and include a little bit more of the whole series, while for the second season, it would just be about the second season. So, with all of that mumbo jumbo out of the way, let's get into it. So, this is the Degrassi Junior High DVD. And what I just found out, though, is that some episodes are actually a little bit longer, or most episodes are a little bit longer, than they were in Canada. And here's the reason. I found this out on the Degrassi Kid podcast. So apparently, Degrassi Junior High was airing on PBS, or a channel owned by PBS. So it was it was classified as educational. So they didn't have commercials. So they needed to fill 5 extra minutes of time in America, in the United States. So, the American viewers got 5 extra minutes on episodes than Canadian viewers. And it wasn't like big story arcs. It was just little things that happened, like the conversation was longer, the hug was longer, stuff like that. But the DVD that I have, has the 5-minute longer episodes. And this is the 30th anniversary edition, and this is the complete Degrassi Junior High series. So we have characters on here that aren't in season 1, but we have Joey, Lucy, Wheels, Stephanie, Scooter, who's introduced in season 2, Caitlin, Spike, and Yick. And then here's the back. So we got a picture of Zoe and Snake and the Zit Remedy, a picture of Spike and Shane holding baby Emma, which we will see in season 3, and then a picture of Kathleen during the her story arc when she had an eating disorder, which we will get to. I believe that's season 3 as well. But I'm going to read this, even though this is about the whole series, I'm going to read it. So, reunion time. Come back to the original Degrassi Junior High and hang out with the whole gang. Joey, Jeremiah, Caitlin, Wheels, Snake, Spike, Kathleen, Stephanie, Arthur, Yick, Vula, Lucy, and more. Hailed as groundbreaking, powerful, and totally authentic, Degrassi Junior High confronts it all: friendships, puberty, rumors, sports, studies, and more, with a stellar ensemble cast and a unique teen's eye view of life. This pioneering series from the late 80s and early 90s presented kids as they really are, and the Los Angeles Times called it one of the gutsiest shows on television. Sometimes moving, sometimes shocking, but always believable, Degrassi Junior High is a classic for teens of all ages. All your favorite characters and storylines are waiting. Find your seat. School's open. Degrassi Junior High, the complete series, includes all 40 episodes from all 3 seasons. And season 1 is on disc 1 and disc 2. So, that's that. Now, this is where I get to pull out my Degrassi journal, which I believe I have gone through this on TikTok, but to get through everything I wanted to get through, I would have to do multiple parts. So now I get to do it all in a YouTube video, which is pretty exciting. So I don't know what's up with the lighting. Is that better? That might be better. Maybe, no. I think that's better. A warm light for the dark. Anyway, if you guys really enjoy my Degrassi journal, which is all about Degrassi, then let me know in the comments if you want me to do my television journal, because I have one, and it's just like a holy grail. Like, it's like this thick, and it's this type of journal. So this is what my Degrassi. I wish I could do a bigger picture. I'm trying not to like flash everybody. It's a very low top. But this is my Degrassi journal. So I have a picture from each season of Degrassi. Yeah. So Degrassi Junior High, and then that's Degrassi High. So let me show you. This is this is the promotional for Degrassi Junior High. But of course, I'm going to be talking about how Degrassi Junior High was created in this video and leading up to getting season 1, and then season 2 will just be about season 2. So I have cute stickers. It's all very and this is not my words. It's all from the Degrassi wiki page or Wikipedia. Weird. Hold on, let me turn my heater off. I'm a little hot. I was cold and I'm hot. So Degrassi Junior High is a Canadian TV drama series that was produced from 1986 to 1988 and aired in the winters of 1987, 1988, and 1989. This is the second incarnation in the Degrassi series. The show followed the lives of a group of students attending the titular fictional school. Many episodes tackled difficult issues such as drug abuse, child abuse, pedophilia, teenage pregnancy, homosexuality, body issues, and divorce. And the series was acclaimed for its sensitive and realistic portrayal of the challenges of teenage life. The cast comprised of mainly non-professional actors. Degrassi Junior High spanned 42 episodes covering 2 groups of students over 2 seasons from grades 7 through 9. In the first 2 seasons, half the students were in grade 7, half were in grade 8. In the third season, the 8s, except one student who flunked, moved to grade 9, but stayed at the school temporarily while the 7s moved up to grade 8. Presumably, a new group of grade 7s were added. And there was a new group of grade 7s added. There was 2 new grade 7s added, but they were then, at the start of Degrassi High, moved up to grade 9, even though they should have been in grade 8. So, sorry, I bit my cheek at some point and it hurts. I don't remember biting it, but the first season premiered January 18th, 1987, with 13 episodes on Sunday afternoons, and was brought up to prime time in the second season in January 1988. Some of the characters were in each of the 2 grades, as the second season was not their next academic school year, but instead their second semester. The first season happened in the fall of 1988 of the 1988 to 1989 school year. The characters are in grades 8 and 9 in the third season of the series. The 9th graders stayed in junior high, but attended classes at Borden High School. It followed the series The Kids of Degrassi Street. Though not as a sequel, some kid actors also performed in junior high, but as different characters, and directly preceded the series Degrassi High, which is a sequel to Degrassi Junior High. In turn, some of the junior high actors and their characters are also part of Degrassi The Next Generation as teachers, parents, and others with an interest and involvement in their old alma mater. The program also aired on PBS in the United States and the BBC in the UK and Western Europe, and the ABC in Australia. A DVD containing all of the show's episodes was released in October 2005. Also, as of October 2005, American cable network The N, which airs Degrassi The Next Generation, has aired Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High as its Degrassi Old School block. Now, during my time of watching Degrassi The Next Generation, which I used to watch it on TNIC, I never watched it while it was The N. I watched it on TNIC. I never did get to see Degrassi Junior High or Degrassi High on cable. Now, there was this one time where it said it was an episode of Degrassi High called He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not, which is about Caitlin's crush on Joey. I believe it was Degrassi High. It might have been Degrassi Junior High, but I believe Degrassi High. But it was really an episode of Degrassi Next Generation, and it was just the guide mislabeled it. So now we have now we have season 1. So that was all. I forgot to show you the page. They're all decorated. So I got a little flower here. I went all out. But now we're actually on season 1. So the first season of Degrassi Junior High premiered on January 18th, 1987, with 13 episodes played every Sunday. It introduces the main characters, a group of 7th and 8th grade school children, and follows their lives as they deal with the typical issues and challenges of teenage life, such as drug abuse, child abuse, pedophilia, teenage pregnancy, homosexuality, divorce, and much more. The season depicts the fall semester of the 1987 to 1988 school year. I read that like the sentence was going to continue, and it didn't. So, the season depicts the fall semester of the 1987 to 1988 school year. There we go. So then I have all the grades listed and all the characters. So we have grade 8, which was the class of 1992. But at the start of the Next Generation, they were retconned to 1993 to make room for Emma Nelson to be 12. And the reason that this group had to be retconned was because Spike was 14 when she had Emma. And Emma being 12 in the year 2001, it didn't make sense for Spike's age. So they had to then age them down. So the grade 8s, we have Stephanie K, who was born Stephanie Kowalski, but at some point prior to the series, she changed her name to Stephanie K after her parents divorced. Now, we do learn from her mom that they've been divorced for years, and she kind of resents her dad for the divorce, which is a reason she changed her name to K. Now, whether it was a legal change, it never mentions that in the show, because Arthur didn't know that she had changed her name, but everyone around school calls her Stephanie K, and the teachers call her Stephanie K. So in the school system, she's Stephanie K. But then we have Vula Grivogiannis, Joseph Joey Jeremiah, Derek Wheeler, who everyone calls Wheels, Archibald Simpson, but his nickname is Archie, but then all of his friends call him Snake. Lucy Fernandez, who is our first student to not be from Canada. She is from New York. And some of the other Canadian characters are not actually from Toronto. Like Wheels is from Port Hope. Character we meet, Liz, she's from Linden. But I will mention when a character is not from Canada. And at the end, after I do Degrassi in a class, I will then do like a special 1 or 2 part video about all the characters and break down them individually. Be really fun. And then I'll do my PowerPoint presentation, which will kind of wrap it all together, and I'll do that series by series. So then we have Lorraine Delacourt, who everyone calls LD. And then we have twins, Heather and Erica Farrell. And then we have Christine Spike Nelson. And the reason they call her Spike is because she's got spiky hair. The reason they call him Snake doesn't make any sense, but apparently they asked because they created the character of Archie for Stefan Brogren. So they asked him if he wanted his nickname to be Slim or Snake, and he chose Snake. And then we have Shane McKay. So then our grade 7s, who were the class of 1993, but at the start of the Next Generation, they were retconned to 1994. We have Caitlin Ryan, Susan Susie Rivera, Melanie Brody, Kathleen Mead, Richard Rick Monroe, Arthur Kowalski, and Yikyu. And then we have adults, Daniel Dan Radich, Karen Avery, and Doris Bell. So there are 13 episodes this season. Kiss Me Steph, The Big Dance, The Experiment, The Cover-Up, The Great Wraith, Rumor Has It, Best Laid Plans, Nothing to Fear, What a Night, Smoke Screen, It's Late, which won an Emmy, And that is the reason why, because that's the Spike's pregnancy episode, and that is the reason that Emma is named Emma, because they won an Emmy for the pregnancy episode, Parents' Night and Revolution. So that is everything for season 1, and in the next video we will talk about season 2. But let's break down the episodes this season, and this is going to get really challenging when I get to like season 10 of Degrassi the Next Generation, or Degrassi, because they dropped the tagline at season 10. When I get to season 10 of Degrassi and there's 44 episodes to break down, that is not going to be fun. It's not even going to be fun when I get to like the 22 episode seasons. But let's see if I can break it down. So I'm going to start with Kiss Me Staff. So I'm also going to tell you when characters are first introduced and have speaking roles, because not all the characters are introduced in the first episode, and that continued for all the seasons of Degrassi. Like, just because a character is in the opening credits and is a new character doesn't mean we're going to be introduced to them in the first episode. Like in season 10, we get Drew, Eli, and Adam, and we're introduced to Eli in the first episode, but we're not introduced to Adam, I don't think. We're introduced to Drew, maybe. But anyway, so Kiss Me Staff, the first character we're introduced to is Stephanie K. And of course, she's an 8th grader. And then we're introduced to her brother, Arthur Kowalski, who is a 7th grader. Through the hallway, she talks to a couple of kids, Shane McKay, 8th grader, and then Rick Monroe, who is a 7th grader, but he was held back. Now, I don't, for some reason, did not write that in my notes, which I do later for Joey. But yes, he was held back, so he should be an 8th grader. And then we're introduced to Vula Gurvigianis, who's an 8th grader, and then Joey Jeremiah and LD, who are both 8th graders. Then we're introduced to Mr. Radich, who is the English teacher, and he's also the grade 8 homeroom. Then we get Yikyu, 7th grader. Miss Avery is the social studies teacher, as well as the grade 7 homeroom. Then so the main plot for this episode is that Stephanie K is going to run for president. And we'll get to that a little later. So then we introduce to Snake and Wheels, both 8th graders. And Stephanie, Vula is the reason that Stephanie decides to run. Vula says, "You're popular, people will vote for you." And Stephanie's like, "Really? I'm not very good at speeches." So Vula's like, "I'll help you." And Vula is like Stephanie's best friend. Well, then Stephanie decides that she wants to change her appearance. That is a main plot that runs throughout the season. She wears her home clothes to school, and then changes. Changes at school in the bathroom. And we get a character just like this later on in season 8 of The Next Generation with Allie. And I guess we can include Manny in that too, but she never really changed her clothes. She just had a sweatshirt on and unzipped it at school. But we'll get to those characters way down the line. So then Wheel says, "I'll vote for you if I can kiss you," because she's really hot now, which I actually think that it doesn't look good. Like, her home clothes are actually really cute. I mean, they're 80s, but her school outfits just make her look like a tramp. And I mean, it's definitely the 80s version of tramp, because I mean, people still try to do that nowadays, and it doesn't look good. Especially her hair. Like, she teased her hair out, and that was never a good look. But anyways, Stephanie ends up winning, but instead of thanking Vula for all the help, she thanks Joey. So, that ruins their friendship for a long time. And I don't think I wrote down the episode that they do become friends again, but they do eventually, they don't become best friends again, but they do eventually become friends again. I remember which episode it is, so I'll try to talk about it. And then Susie is the vice president. So Susie is the next character that talks, and she's in 7th. So the next episode is called The Big Dance. And in this episode, we meet characters Lucy Fernandez, Heather Farrell, and Erica Farrell. They're twins, and all three are in 8th grade. And then we meet Caitlin Ryan, who's in 7th. And there's always 2 plot lines, but I only wrote down 1 plot line, so I'm going to try to remember what it's about. So, fun fact, Heather and Erica are actually in the first episode, but they're background characters for the grade 7 class, and while their last name is the same, it's Farrell, their first names are different. One of them is named Stacy, and they're seen in the grade 7 homeroom. And while in this episode they are then seen in grade 8 classes and named Heather and Erica, they are also then later episodes of the season again seen in the grade 7s. But then further down into this season, they are then solely seen as grade 8s. So I'm thinking maybe the episodes were produced in different orders. So this episode is all about the fall dance. I can't remember what the second plot was, but the plot with Stephanie is she goes to... Oh, I remember it. But, so we'll talk about the other plot and come back to Stephanie. So Vula wants to go to the dance, but she has a strict dad. I'm not actually sure where she's from, but her parents are from a different country. And her dad is strict and says, no, you're too young for dances, blah, 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 blah. Well then, she has the idea to foster a child. And Lucy suggests that they use the dance as a fundraiser, and people pay $1 to come in, and that money goes towards the child. And Lucy tells Vula to just ask your dad again. Like, I mean, it was your idea, and it's a good cause, so maybe he'll change his mind. Well, she lies and says that there's a meeting at the school, and he tells her to be home by, I think he says 8:30. But she's having, so she goes to Lucy's house, changes, and she doesn't want to wait because she wants to get to the dance early so she has enough time since she has a curfew, but also because Stephanie shows up. But she gets to the dance. The dance is, she loses track of time, and her dad shows up. But before we get to that, we have to get to Stephanie's story because they intertwine. So Stephanie and Erica and Heather show up at Lucy's house. So Stephanie can get ready for the dance. And while there, they get drunk off of Lucy's alcohol because she says, oh, it's okay. My parents won't mind. And apparently Heather and Erica have gotten drunk before, which Erica makes sense because she's a little bit of the rebellious twin, but I'm like, Heather, really? But anyway. So they're drunk, they show up to the dance, Stephanie makes a fool of herself in front of her crush Wheels, and asks Vula to make the speech, and Vula's like, I can't, I have to get home, I'm already late. But, Stephanie, I can't remember, somehow convinces her, and so Vula makes a speech for the foster child, and her dad finds out, drags her home, and grounds her, probably. I'm not really sure. So the next episode is the experience. Yeah, this is taking forever. When I get to seasons with 40 episodes, I'm going to have to decide on which episodes I want to talk about. But anyway, so next we have the experiment. And we're introduced to 7th graders, Melanie Brody and Kathleen Mead. And this episode is basically Melanie, who I love the season 1 Melanie. She is hilarious and always wants to do crazy stuff that she thinks you're supposed to do in junior high. Like get hickeys and I want to say have sex, but not have sex, but like stuff like that. And then in this episode, she wants to try drugs. And Kathleen, who is sensible but controlling and kind of mean, and wants everything her way, controlling, says, no, you can't do drugs. You get addicted. And Melanie's like, well, I only want to try them once. I won't get addicted off them once. So Joey's overhearing this. And Joey being Joey and always looking for a quick buck is like, I got you. So for $5, he sells them vitamin pills. They don't know it's vitamin pills, but He makes $10 off of them. And then they bring 3 of their friends. So he makes 15 or 25 more dollars because they buy more. But then, of course, they find out because he's talking to Stephanie, and they're in the place, too. Like, they're all in this little restaurant drinking milkshakes. And they overhear, and I forget what happens, but they lock him in a closet. That's right. And then Arthur finds him, but because of, I forgot to tell, Joey locked both Arthur and Yick in closets in the first episode. So Arthur finds him in the closet, but instead of letting him out, he closes the door, and he was naked. Well, he had underwear on. So then the other part of this episode is Yick thinks Mr. Raditch is picking on him. And so Arthur gets Yick an old paper of Stephanie's that Rick can copy and see if it's Yick or if it's just he's not very good. So Yick ends up getting a better grade on the paper than Stephanie did. So he's like, well, that's not fair. I got a better grade than Stephanie, so he's still an unfair grader. So Arthur gets him another paper, but Mr. Raditch finds out, asks them to write an assignment about why they cheated. And during this, Arthur tells Yick, well, maybe you should actually try. And at this point, Yick tells him, well, you're not a very good basketball player, blah, blah, blah. And then Yick actually does try and writes a very beautiful paper on stereotypes. And Mr. Raditch says that was his best work. So that's what that was on. So then the next episode is called The Cover-Up, which in this episode, which we then see a similar storyline unfold in the premiere of season 2 of The Next Generation. But this episode, Joey basically helps Rick get out of an abusive home life because he talks to Doris about what if a student is being abused by his father. And Doris thinks it's Joey, so calls social services. And someone shows up at the house. And then the guy there is like super smart and realizes it's actually Rick. And Rick decides to move in with his brother. And while that episode is not, there's not really a conclusion to the abusive father, The Next Generation does Craig's storyline a lot better. So the next episode is called The Great Race, and it's basically the soccer players and the swim team have a race against each other to see who is really superior, and it's all because the sports rep didn't announce that the swim team won because they're girls and girl sports aren't real sports. But also during this episode, Melanie buys a bra, and the reason for this is because she's been complaining about the fact that she needs a bra, but her mom won't buy her a bra, and LOD's like, oh my god, let's just go, and takes her to buy a bra. And so when she buys this bra, people start making fun of her because they think her bra is stuffed. Because, like, bras, they hold everything. They hold everything together, and they can if you have, like, if you are just developing, they could make it look like you have more than you really do. And so we have that, and then she decides that she doesn't want to race because when she's not wearing her bra, people are going to actually think she really is stuffing her bra. And LD says, we don't even have that many people. We don't have enough people now to swim because everyone else is complaining about this and that, and they don't want to race against boys and blah, 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 blah. Well, the soccer team tries to get Snake because Snake is tall. Like, Snake, I think, when we meet him again in The Next Generation, I don't believe Snake has actually grown at all. I think he's been 6'2" since he was in junior high. Like, he's tall. So it's even funnier when he marries Spike on the show because Amanda Steptoe is 5 foot. And then Stephen Broken is 6'2". It's hilarious. But anyway, so they get Snake. And Snake's like, but I'm not on the soccer team. And Jason is like, it doesn't matter. We'll get you on the team. And Snake's like, this is wrong. I mean, it's cheating technically because you only want me because I'm a good swimmer. So then Snake decides not to swim, but Melanie finds him, and he's like, but aren't you swimming? And she's like, I was going to, but then they have a really heart-to-heart, and Joey says, Snake says, but if you love it, then you should do it. And he talks about how he used to be good at soccer, but ever since he hit his growth spurt, his feet don't communicate with his brain, and so Melanie decides to go swim, and we get this iconic line from Joey that he says to, it's cringy, "You're so flat, the walls are jealous," which is just, it's cringy, but funny. It's a funny line. And after that line, LD goes and drags Joey and pushes him into the pool, which is just iconic. Junior high Joey was, I don't know if I can say this on YouTube, but he was an hole. He was. Degrassi High Joey, a little bit better. And then Next Generation Joey, a great father and stepfather. I feel like him dating Caitlin really matured him. But anyway, also during this, Yick and Arthur are worried about their height, because they aren't growing, so they decide to follow Snake around and find out what he's eating. And that was just a comedic storyline, because there's always a comedic one. So next is Rumor Has It, which is basically Caitlin trying to figure out her sexuality because she's having dreams about Miss Avery. And there's a rumor going around that Miss Avery's a lesbian because she's not married. She's not dating anyone. She's always seen with the woman. Turns out that's her roommate because it's cheaper. And yeah, she's not gay. Caitlin's not gay. It's all good. So, and then Yick is a mess. He lost $20. And Arthur and Yick think that it's Rick because he suddenly came into $100. Apparently won the lottery. But turns out it's not. And Yick gets up finding the $20. So next, we get the best laid plans, which is Stephanie and Wheels decide to go on a date. That doesn't go well. But at the same time, Yick and Arthur decide to watch Swamp Sex Robots. And it's perfect. Arthur's able to do that because Stephanie's going out and their mother happens to have a date. But people are pressuring Stephanie and Wheels into sex. And so Joey convinces Wheels to go and buy condoms. But little do they know, the pharmacist that helps Wheels is Stephanie's mother. So when Wheels shows up at Stephanie's house, the guy that Stephanie's mother is seeing is also there. And if Wheels was smart, he would have waited for them to leave. She realizes that Wheels is the guy that just bought condoms and cancels everyone's night. And that's also the episode that Vula and Stephanie become friends because Vula helps Stephanie come to terms with whether or not she really wanted to have sex. So next we get Nothing to Fear. And we are finally, which we have seen her multiple times in background throughout the previous episodes, but this is the first episode she speaks. We meet Spike, who's an 8th grader. So this episode, its main storyline is LD's dad is in the hospital. And LD doesn't, or she wants to, but she can't visit him. She gets to the hospital at one point, but it's just too hard. And that is because when she was little, her mother went to the hospital and never came out. She died. And so those memories have been haunting LD forever and have made him scared of hospitals. But Vula is able to convince LD that she should go see her dad because he's going to be okay. So this episode also introduces the fact that Melanie has a little crush on Snake, but also there's a lost snake in the school. And that's just the comedic one. Melanie is scared of snakes. But then at the end, the guys that were making fun of her for being afraid of snakes, when they find the snake, they actually get freaked out by the snake. So it's a little comedic. Then we get What a Night, which we're introduced to the character named Damon King, who is a fictional character, and he's like a heartthrob. So think like Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, heartthrobs. Justin Bieber, the Jonas Brothers, heartthrobs. Yeah, he's a heartthrob. And Erica, Heather, and Stephanie go and get his autograph, and Stephanie lies and says she's 16. And while this guy, he's probably in his 30s, writes down a number, which, even though she did lie about her age being 16, that is still creepy that a 30-year-old gave his number to a 16-year-old. So they go out, and she thought they would just go into the studio, but he parks the car at a motel and tries to have sex with her. And she's able to escape. And he gets out of the car and is like, what's wrong? You know, it's okay. But she says she's 14 and he retreats real fast. Ass, though, left her at the motel, so she calls her mom, and they apparently have a long, nice talk. This episode also introduces us to the fact that Lucy is a latchkey kid. Now, if you don't know what a latchkey kid is, it's basically what Jimmy also was. Your parents are never home. Now, what's crazy is that once he ended up in his wheelchair, which I'll get into this later, Joey's parents become more involved in his life. But anyway, so Lucy is a latchkey kid. Her parents are never home. She's basically raising herself. And she finds sympathy or comfort in stealing. And then she invites Vula to go shopping and steals a sweater for Vula, and they're caught. And Vula's parents are furious, and Lucy's parents are furious. And Lucy is actually going to be charged because this is not her first offense. And in later episodes, we find out that she has a court date for the spring. So, then we get Smokescreen, which is about the pollution gang, and they let Rick in, but Kathleen, being Kathleen, thinks he's not a good fit. They have a petition. They bring it to the big pollution area, and it kind of goes off on the guy. But we can see that Caitlin kind of likes Rick. But Rick, and I hate this happens more times in the show with characters like Sean and Zig, who are poor kids with bad home lives that get really mad when someone tries to help them or shows them any love. And then we also learn more about Yick and how his family came from Vietnam. But he's ashamed of his family and tries to have this base and show up. So then we get the episode It's Late, which is a groundbreaking episode of Degrassi history, and an episode that, if this episode had never happened, the next generation would have never happened. So we learn that Spike and Shane are kind of an item. And they have sex for the first time. They do it in Lucy's house, which I don't know why you would have sex in your friend's house. I hope she burned her sheets. But we also learn that her mother owns a hairdresser. So Spike's mother owns a hairdresser. And she had Spike when she was 17. And so that makes her really young. She's in her 30s and about to become a grandmother. So, Spike doesn't know if she's pregnant, and Erica and Heather are like, well, you have to get a test. So they go with her to buy a test. She goes home, and her mother's like pressuring her to tell her what's in the bag, and she finally throws it at her mom, and it's a pregnancy test, and they go to a clinic, and Spike's pregnant. which she'll have the baby in the next season. So we'll get into that later. And then this season also introduces us to the fact that Yick has a crush on Melanie, and then they go ice skating at the end. And through the whole episode, it was comedic. It's a comedic one. He tries all these attempts to ask her out, and they all go terribly wrong. So then we get Parents' Night, which is Spike questioning whether or not she should put her baby up for adoption. In the previous episode, she had talked to Shane about what if she just doesn't have it, and Shane says, well, abortion is wrong. At least he thinks it's wrong because it's killing a baby, and babies have rights too. Like, if a baby has to, if a baby at the, that's about 2 weeks old, probably at that point, is not viable to survive outside of the womb. My philosophy is, if a baby cannot survive without the mother, then it's okay. It's not a person yet. But starting at 20 weeks, a baby can survive. And that is when you can't have an abortion, because the baby can survive outside of the womb. Now, some places will perform an abortion at 22 weeks or at 20 weeks. But anyway, so this episode has her considering adoption, and she talks to Wheels because it turns out Wheels was adopted. And Wheels tells her everything he thinks, and it really gave her something to think. But of course, now we know she doesn't actually do adoption. But we also meet Will's bio dad. Turns out that they were 16 and they couldn't raise a kid. Turns out the mom, he lost contact with the mom a while ago. I like to think that the mom, because the dad kind of seems like he's still trying to live his teenage dreams, because he's in a rock band traveling Canada. I like to think the mom, went to college, graduated, got a decent job, and is making a great living. So then the last episode of the season is Revolution, which basically one has the characters studying for their final exams of the semester. Also has Stephanie giving the job of sports rep, which is a grade 7 job, to Joey. She does that to make Wheels jealous because he turns her down for a date because he has to study. Then Joey finds out from Heather and Erica, and he basically quits and tells Stephanie that he's done. And also the grade 7s and maybe some grade 8s try to get Stephanie impeached because she's not a very good president. And then the end kind of has Stephanie going through all the things that she's done wrong this semester, and it ends with her reconnecting with her brother. And then we get to move on to season 2. So I know this was a long video. Next season shouldn't be as long. But next video should not be as long. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little different than what I've done before, but I hope you enjoyed it. So if you did, like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, I think that's everything. Bye.